back to some more algebra. Today we are learning about rational equations. Rational equations. So all that really means is, hey, you're solving for x. But what makes them a little bit different than other equations is the fractions in them sometimes. So let's see how we're going to kind of work these out. So first things first is we always look for the least common denominator. That's the first thing we're going to do. So right now we have two denominators. We have a 3 and a 2. So together, 3 and 2 are our least common denominators. Well, 3 times 2 gives a number, 6. So 6 is what we're going to use as our least common denominator. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to turn these to 6, but what we are going to do is we're going to multiply everything by 6. Multiply this by 6, this by 6, and this by 6. All right? So let me move this out of the way. Now, in doing so, we can go ahead and reduce the denominator with the numerator. So 3, change colors. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 2 is what's going to multiply with the x minus 8 up here. 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 3 is going to multiply with x minus 3. And then 0 times 6 is, of course, 0 still. In doing so, we go ahead and multiply that, so that distributes in 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 8, negative 16. 3 times 3 is positive 3x, and then 3 times a negative 3 is a negative 9. All right, so now it's a little bit more simplified, and then just go ahead and solve the equation by combining like terms. So 2x plus 3x is 5x. Negative 16 minus 9 is negative 25. That equals 0. We add 25 to both sides. 5x equals 25. And then equals 25 divided by 5. X equals 5. Right? So this is the idea we're going to. Let's complicate it a little bit more. Let's make it a little bit harder now. So again, we look for the least common denominator. Least common denominator. That's what we're looking for. Now to do so in this case, we need a factor. We're going to factor the denominators. Now when we do that, we kind of see the part. So x plus 3 is factored completely. You can't factor anymore. So this right here is x plus 3. All right. Here, we can factor out an x, leaving us an x, and then an x plus 3. And here, again, we factor out an x, leaving us an x plus 3. That means our least common denominator is right here, the x and the x plus 3. They all have an x plus 3, at least. But 2 of these have an x. That means we got to include an x over here. So this is our least common denominator. So this is what we're going to multiply with all 3 fractions. So we're going to multiply this with x plus 3, this with x plus 3, and this with x and x plus 3. Now, as we do that, certain things will cancel. So this whole fraction times this, the x plus 3 up here reduces with the x plus 3 right here, leaving me just the x in the 6. So we get x times 6, 6x. Here, x plus 3 cancels with x plus 3, and then x with the x, leaving me, that's completely gone, leaving me just the x plus 4. And same thing here, this x reduces with that x, this x plus 3 reduces with that x plus 3, leaving me just the x plus 1. All the fractions got reduced to 1 down here. That's why we don't write the denominators down here anymore, because they're completely gone. Or not so much completely gone, they've all been reduced to 1, 1, 1, 1, and you don't write ones in denominators. So now we just combine like terms. So we got an x right here, an x right here, gives me 2x. 4 and 1 gives me plus 5. That equals 6x. We then subtract the 2x, get combine like terms. Now, remember, we're subtracting it because we're moving across the equal sign. If it was on the same side, like these two right here, then you just add them as they are. But here, since it's moving across the equal sign, we have to do the opposite sign. That goes away, leaving me 4 x equals 5. And again, we're solving for x. So we divide by 4. X equals 5 over 4. And it's okay to get a fraction. It happens sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. All right. All right. Let's do one more as an example here. See how that looks. Something a little bit bigger, of course. Bigger go small, y'all. All right, let me reduce this down a little bit more. Yeah, it looks a little better. All right, so same thing right here. We got a least common denominator, and to do so, we got to factor. We got to factor the denominator. All right, so we just got x squared. I mean, you can think of it as x plus x times x, but we'll leave it as x squared. Let's look at this right here. So the common denominator here is x squared. Here we can, both of these terms have an x squared at least. We can take out an x squared. And we do so, we're left with an x plus 2 right here. Okay. Same thing right here. We factor out an x squared, leaving me an x plus 2 right there. So that means our least common denominator will be the x squared and the x plus 2. So we're going to multiply this to all of this. Multiply it to here. So x squared times x plus 2, x squared times x plus 2, and x squared times x plus 2. All right, so the x squares cancel out right here. So we're just left with 8x plus 5 plus 56 times x plus 2. So we have to FOIL that out. So this right here, change the colors on this. That cancels that. So we're left with this right here. So we'll FOIL that here in a bit. FOIL. Here the x squared cancels out the x squared, the x plus 2 cancels out the x plus 2, leaving me just the numerator. So we're good right there. X plus 2, x squared, x plus 2, x plus 2. Everything canceled out. So here, we'll have to FOIL that. So we'll do x plus 2 times 8x plus 56. On the other side of this thing, so we're just left with the numerators as they are. So we're left at 8x squared plus 17x minus 21 plus 1. So we'll simplify that here in a bit. So let's go for this. So x times 8x and then x times 56. So x times 8x gives us 8x squared. X times 56 gives a positive 56x. 2 times 8x is a positive 16x. And then 2 times 56 is a positive 112. 112. Combine like terms right there. We're left with 8x squared plus, what is that? 50, 60, 72x plus 112 equals, this combine like terms, so this is the only combining like terms right there. 8x squared plus 17x minus 20, All right, so now let's go ahead and get all the x's. Let's take all these x's and move them to this side, and then we'll take this number that way. So I'm going to subtract 8x squared from 8x squared. So they will cancel each other out. And minus 17x minus 17x. All right. So in doing so, we get that. We get 72x minus 17x. A little 55x. So 55x. 55x right there. And then since we moved all the x's to one side, we're going to go ahead and move this that way. So we're going to subtract 112 from over here, and we're going to subtract 112 from over here. So over here cancel out here, they will add to an extent. So it's still a negative number, but because they're both the same sign, you add them together because it's 132. 132. All right. So then we're going to, again, solve for x. So we're going to divide by 55. Divide by 55. Right now we have x equals negative 132 over 55. Crazy thing, this reduces if you want to share. So 132 over 55. They both reduce by, anybody? Class? Yeah, they all reduce by 11. 11 goes into both of them. So divide this by 11. Divide this by 11. X equals negative 12 over 5. And that's our answer, y'all. Hopefully it kind of helps out a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Bye.